Good morning, YouTube. I'm kind of depressed, and it's your fault.
But I feel like it partially is.
Yeah, I'm not at Monterey Car Week for the first time in 10
You
years.
can't blame me for that.
Well, we planned a different trip, which is
Right.
going to be fine. And it's really sad because it's the year, finally, where the crap kind of hits the fan and all the auctions are very, very soft. It's been a resilient collector car market for a really long time, like sort of, I don't understand why.
Right.
It keeps going and going and going, but finally we have the, yeah.
Oh, it needs a little spark, a little energy. It's having a midlife crisis right now, maybe.
Yeah, and I remember being a kid and going to Barrett-Jackson in like 2009 when everything sort of went crashing down during the big recession, and cars that were selling for $1 million were, selling for half at one point. People were literally crying at this auction, selling their cars no reserve. And that seems to be the case here with the Monterey auctions, except it's a pretty boring watch because most people, they have reserve sets, so then it just doesn't meet reserve, and then that's what makes these auctions sort of tough to watch. I don't know, what do you think?
I think it's so fun to watch them and just to kind of see if they actually meet reserve, or sometimes the owners will let it go below reserve if there's a little conversation there. So I think it's still fun to watch. Obviously, no reserve, which was the huge draw in Barrett-Jackson because every single car that goes across the block is no reserve.
Right, and I'm a little spicy just in general because I'm trying to pass a kidney stone, my first ever kidney stone. So last time we're going on a trip now instead of Monterey Car Week, and last time April gave me a rash right before we went to the Bahamas.
I did not give you a rash.
You didn't clean the hot tub, so I was broken out in folliculitis of hot tub rash.
I was out of town in Chicago selling my house, and he used the hot tub, didn't clean it properly, and it got a little hot and dirty.
This time, she hasn't properly hydrated me for weeks, and I got a kidney stone. It put me in the hospital, the worst pain I've ever had in my life. It's like it's getting punched and stabbed at the same time. Like I thought I was dying.
You probably almost did that. Projectile vomiting.
They don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about car auctions. People came here to hear about the car auctions.
It was very impressive, actually.
So I did a video actually previewing, we did, 300 SLs for sale in Monterey.
Are you just dying? Like, was there one specifically that went across that you
Here's the thing. All of them that we looked at beforehand, because it was probably the most number of 300 SLs ever at Monterey. And I think that's because of Barrett-Jackson in January, where they had that fluke, beautifully restored car.
Right.
Just the right people in the room, the right kind of marketing, brought $3 million. So I really thought, well, okay, I'm going to sell mine. They flooded it for Monterey.
Right.
That was a one-time deal. Barrett-Jackson's sort of a magical place where things like that can happen.
Right.
For example, the Risky Business 928 came back and tried to sell at Monterey. I think it brought almost $2 million at Barrett-Jackson, and then
didn't hit reserve.
1.2 million didn't meet reserve. So lightning in a bottle, that place, especially the thrill of the no reserve stuff. But the 300 SLs, there were a lot. And most of them didn't sell, didn't meet their reserve. And the ones that did, they were way under their estimates. So the nice driver, the black car, old restoration, estimate 1.1 to 1.3, only brought 900, so under $1 million.
So is that one that if you were at Monterey, you would be bringing it home?
I would have really wanted that car, yeah, for sure. And then there was an alloy block, so an aluminum engine one, estimate 1.6 to 1.8. This was even worse. It sold for 1.2 at RM. That was a very good deal. Then the first Gullwing, 1.5 to 1.8 estimate, it sold for 1.4.
Wow, okay.
Half of what the Barrett-Jackson was sold. This is an older restoration, but still showing very nice. Then no sales on the Hot Rod Roadster that I loved, where the bumpers are removed, they had the side pipe exhaust and all that stuff. Estimated 1.2 to 1.3, no sale to $1,020,000. And a really nice restored Roadster where they had a $1.5 to $2 million estimate, failed to meet reserve at 1.2. And then the low, this one really hurt, Gullwing for 1.25. Estimate 1.4 to 1.6. This one's, old, bad repaint, just a tatty driver, which I really, really want that so I can just drive and heck out of enjoy, not worry about scratching and all that stuff. That would have been the perfect car for $1,250,000. Another one, original paint.
Yes.
$1 million. Estimate 1.2 to 1.6, because the original one is real original paint. They can bring a lot, even if it's tatty and kind of rough. It's really cool. Another Gullwing failed to sell, 1.4 on its reserve. And another low price on a Roadster, 1.125 on a yellow one at Mecum. So you kind of get the theme here. There's like 6, 8 more, and you keep going, and none of them are bringing the money that people thought that it would in the estimates for the auctions. But we noticed, I feel like, at least with Broad Arrow, the estimates were a little optimistic. I say a lot optimistic.
Right. Do you feel like they're more so this cycle as compared to previous ones?
Well, I think some do it better than others, and I think with RM they're a little bit more on the money. Gooding tends to be a little bit more on the money.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at Broad Arrow, and it was just like, wouldn't that be nice kind of price? Like these things, because I follow the market of the 300 SLs pretty closely and the other cars that I own. So I was, I was a little blown away by their estimates, which they didn't get.
Right. Well, and I don't know if it's fair to completely compare them to Barrett-Jackson, because those cars that come through on Saturday at Barrett-Jackson are completely stunning, perfect, gone over with like a toothpick to make sure it's absolutely perfect.
But traditionally, Barrett-Jackson doesn't do estimates, like so that estimate $2 to $3 million. They don't really do that with any of the cars. They just whatever's in the room, whatever happens that day. So not to toot our own horns, the people we work for, but yeah, we could like a raise too, Craig, please. But there were some surprises in this.
Right.
Some bright spots, some new records. So. Testarossa.
Oh, yeah, this was so fun to watch. This is what makes auctions great to see live, because are you talking about the one that really hit with the low miles?
Yeah, so I'm using the Hammer Price app to pull these up really quickly. It's a really nice tool to find these, better than, say, on my laptop. But yeah, I think a new record for a Testarossa. Their estimate was $300,000 to $350,000, which I said that's the optimistic place. But this one only had 154 miles on it. Yeah, set a record for $410,000.
Amazing. And it took a while to get there. They were going back and forth, going up, small increments when they got higher. It's just so exciting. And I really want Testarossa's value to go up, because the Countach, obviously, just iconic. Everyone loves them, and their value has shot up. Testarossa, not so much. But now it is time for the Testarossa.
Well, it would be a good time to buy one.
Oh, yeah.
Hint, hint. Oh no, I'm getting clunky on the app here. Another big record was a Ferrari F50. So you had the F40, the F50, and the Enzo. They made very, very few F50s, and they are amazing to look at in person. And when you go to Monterey Car Week, there's like a street parked F50 that someone drove into town for coffee, and you just see it like, what is this doing here? But yeah, new record. This one, $5,505,000, and their estimate was 4.6 to 5 million.
Right, and not crazy. I mean, it's low miles, but not like the Testarossa.
Right,
obviously.
So that was a crazy price, a new high bar for the F50. So there were some surprises in there. There were some...
Oh, so Ed sent you that one?
Yeah, he did, and he sent me a few clunkers too, unfortunately.
So I kind of feel bad, because you're watching these auctions with... You know, gorgeous, that X-ray picture of the gull wing above the TV.
And I sent him a picture of it.
Right.
Yes.
And then Ed is watching these auctions with an actual Bugatti next to him.
He's sitting in his garage where his television is, watching the auctions and just looking at his Bugatti. So he sent me a picture of it. It's all of his, liquor, which he serves to people before they go upstairs to do a VinWiki car story. Would you like a drink? Get them loosened up, obviously.
Right.
And then they go sit on it looks like a pornographer's room.
What?
It's very dark. There's like a leatherish couch that's easy to wipe things off on. No, I haven't, but it just half the people that go in that room think that is what is going on in there. That's what it resembles.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see his cars and then drink his liquor and go up and tell stories. But he's sitting at the drink the liquor part with his Bugatti, yeah. Right. So that he showed me up there.
You are wearing one of his shirts.
I am today,
looks
yes.
Very big, so it kind of looks like a morning after.
Oh, I'm so bloated from the damn kidney stone and
XL.
all the fluids and all this. But yeah, back to clunkers. This is really bad for me.
Yes.
Because this was a completed sale. It had 21,000 miles on it, but it's an 89 25th Countach.
Right.
And it sold for over $350,000.
Dang.
That is way low, way off the money. So I don't know what the story was there. There was a 89 25th Countach right behind it at Mecum, so they were doing two in a row. It didn't meet reserve at $550,000. So cracks in the armor there, because usually the Countach market was the one bucking the trend as far as things flattening out. The Countaches were going out.
That's because the Testarosa's taken over.
Maybe we hit a ceiling there. But the really sad part, the really sad thing to see is the classics.
Right.
Like the antique, the vintage cars, and just the absolute apocalypse of anything pre-muscle car. Because the Hemi Cudas are still bringing $2 million. I think Meekum had a Hemi Cuda convertible that brought $2 million. But the stuff older, where the people around for that car when they were built, they're all dead. 300 SL is sort of an exception because it's such an icon of a car, but you go back to older, you go back to the pre-war stuff, and it is just absolutely dying.
The brass age, the stuff that looks like a horse and carriage, just the next iteration from that. Just very boxy style. And
Yep. So it was tough, like the first night at Broad Arrow where they had a lot of that old stuff, but then they had their hangar party at the same time, which is very weird. Haggerty owns Broad Arrow. So you'd see the camera go around and the room's empty for their auction because they're holding their big, aircraft hangar party at the same time, which is kind of strange.
That's what rich people do.
I guess so. So a lot of the bids were online, on the phone or whatever. They did have a Bugatti Veyron. That would have been another one where I would have been like, because it sold for 1.1. Their estimate was 1.2 to 1.5, and it had, I think, 20-ish thousand miles on it. They also had a Carrera GT that barely got over $1 million, which again, a 20,000 mile car would have been perfect. But I don't have the money for this anyway because I've wasted it on this damn home renovation thing.
But where do you think the Carrera sits? Like, what is the value of them? Was that way under?
That
or just
was
a little
that
under?
was a good price. It should have been probably 1.2-ish, 1.3, something like that. But I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here because the old ones, it's where things get really sad. So like this 1913 Mercer runabout, and I was watching this live, and these people had owned it for I think 30 or 40 years, and they drove it themselves up on the block. And at this auction, you drive up, it's on a turntable, it rotates around a few times, and they drive off. And their estimate on this car, significant pre-war brass era sort of race car, $2.5 to $3 million.
Wow.
For a significant piece of history. And I don't think they got any bids in the room at all. They kind of ran it to 1.5 just to see if they could get anybody. No bid. So these people, that's been their pride and joy for decades, they wanted to go out on a high note selling it, driving it off, and they're just sitting there kind of depressed.
Right.
But like anything that was expensive in vintage, it didn't meet its reserve. So they threw in a bunch of cars at the end that I think were no reserve that were... I would have bought some of these cars if I were in the room. So one of them, the Lincoln Continental Mark II.
Gorgeous car.
Estimate $70,000, $90,000. Looked really, really nice. Sold for $40,000. 1935 MG. Estimate $70,000 to $90,000. Once again, I thought their things were a little inflated, but still this one sold for $32,000. So less than half of its low estimate.
If you're the consignor, the owner of the car, can you say, wait a minute, hold on at the last second and pull
sometimes
it?
some of it get pulled, but usually not. So a very early Land Rover, Series 2, 1959,
Very cool.
$40,000. Their estimate was $70,000 to $100,000.
Wow.
Rough.
That's really rough. That's a really sweet car.
So, but even some icons, I talk about like the Duesenbergs and things, that they were doing okay, but something like a Tucker kind of surprised me.
I love watching Tucker because the history of them is just so innovative and just a beautiful story, and they only made, I think, like 51 of them. So it's always fun to see cars sell where they didn't have a huge production of them. But it fell a little flat, right?
Yeah, so there was one selling in Monterey, and their estimate was $1.5 to $2 million. It sold for $1.25.
Okay.
So, yep, quite low. You go from the peak in 2020 at Gooding, one sold for $1,850,000. So similar car, and then you've seen that's a big dip.
It's a huge dip. I mean, that movie, I don't know when it came out with
Jeff Bridges.
Lebowski.
90s or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Right.
But I don't know if that just kind of fanfare of when that came out and that kind of pumped up the value for it, because movies can do that for cars.
I need whatever the Big Lebowski was having to get through this.
What do you just drink a lot of
Kidney
beer,
stone.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if that would help you. I don't know if we should go on our trip because of this happening. I'm worried that you're going to be on the plane, screaming bloody murder. It's going to be scary.
I never screamed bloody murder. I just vomited uncontrollably from the pain. That's not going to frighten anybody on a plane. Thank you so much for watching.
They're gonna like try to land in the middle of the ocean and like find a doctor or something.
Oh.